Lubavitch as the center of chasidism. The Baal Shem Tov did not reveal himself at first, except to a chosen few. His pupils and followers, however, were secretly beginning to introduce his teachings to more and more of their fellow Jews. Hiding their true identity, the Baal Shem Tov's followers used to travel from town to town, and when they succeeded in finding a lofty and receptive soul, they tried to win him over to the new teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. Such a mystic, in his wanderings, arrived in Lubavitch when Rabbi Yosef was still a young man, devoting himself entirely to his Talmudic studies and the service of God. His father was then occupying the position of Rav. The new rival became acquainted with Rabbi Yosef and greatly interested in him. Rabbi Yosef had already been looking for a new way of Jewish life. He was eager to investigate that which the mystic had revealed to him of the Baal Shem Tov and his Hasidic teachings. For a whole month, the mystic, who had the appearance of an ordinary traveler, remained in Lubavitch, spending his time revealing to Rabbi Yosef the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. By the time he was ready to leave Lubavitch, Rabbi Yosef had decided to leave with him. No one knew of the contact between the two, neither did anyone connect their simultaneous departure in any way. Actually, however, the mystic had taken Rabbi Yosef along with him to the Baal Shem Tov, and Rabbi Yosef immediately became an ardent and enthusiastic devotee of the latter's Hasidic teachings. Rabbi Yosef stayed away from Lubavitch for a whole year, and on his return told nobody where he had spent his time. He spoke to no one of the new doctrine of the Baal Shem Tov. The time was not yet ripe for Rabbi Yosef to reveal the secret of his connection with the Baal Shem Tov and his disciples. It was in the year 1735, that Rabbi Yosef was first brought to the Baal Shem Tov, and it took 15 years until 1750, before the Baal Shem Tov gave him a special mission to carry out, Rabbi Yosef then being already the Maggid of Lubavitch. It was the festival of Shavuos. Rabbi Yosef spent the festival at the home of the Baal Shem Tov, having left Lubavitch on one of his customary wanderings. He had given neither any clue to his destination nor any reason for his going. The Baal Shem Tov called Rabbi Yosef to his room and told him that on his return journey to Lubavitch he should stop at Smargon and call at the yeshiva there, which at the time was famous. He would find there a student from the townlet of Kobilnik, near Minsk. His name was Yisachar Dov. The Baal Shem Tov advised Rabbi Yosef to take this yeshiva student as a husband for his only daughter. Rabbi Yosef naturally followed this advice. On arrival at Smargon, he followed the usual procedure of obtaining an introduction to Yisachar Dov of Kobilnik through the Rosh Yeshiva, and put forward to Yisachar Dov the suggested alliance between him and his daughter. Yisachar Dov was glad to become the son-in-law of the Maggid of Lubavitch, and so it was all arranged. He decided that Yisachar Dov should stay yet another year at the Smargon Yeshiva. During this year, Yisachar Dov had made a great friend and companion of a brilliant student from Minsk named Menachem Mendel. This student had at times deputized for the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Zorach Elio Krittinger. This Menachem Mendel was one and the same personality who later became one of the leading lights in Chasidism. At the beginning of the month of Elul, in the year 1751, Rabbi Yisachar Dov arrived in Lubavitch and became the son-in-law of Rabbi Yosef, the Maggid of Lubavitch. Rabbi Yisachar Dov lived at the home of Rabbi Yosef and was thus able to continue to devote himself to the study of the Torah. At that time, the number of learned young men in Lubavitch was small. Those who were anxious to study the Torah did not remain in Lubavitch. They went rather to the various famous yeshivas of that period. One of these was at Vitebsk. For the younger students, Lubavitch had 8 teachers, 3 for elementary pupils and 5 for students of Talmud. When Rabbi Yisachar Dov arrived in Lubavitch, there happened to be a remarkable dispute taking place between the Rav of the town, Rabbi Binyamin, and his brother-in-law, Rabbi Wolf. At the time when Rabbi Binyamin was Rav, his brother-in-law, Rabbi Wolf, had decided to earn his living by the work of his own hands, and for this purpose he bought a small mill outside the town. It soon became clear that Rabbi Wolf had the intention of following in the steps of his martyred father. From time to time he left home and went into exile. He was then already the father of 2 daughters. While he was in exile, the whole burden of support fell upon his wife Sarah, Rabbi Binyamin's sister. For this reason, Rabbi Binyamin was extremely dissatisfied with Rabbi Wolf's way of going on, and thus they reached a parting of ways. Learning of the dispute, Rabbi Yisachar Dov put in a good word for Rabbi Wolf and said he was doing the right thing. A friendship sprang up between the Maggid's son-in-law, Rabbi Yisachar Dov, and the Rav's brother-in-law, Rabbi Wolf. The former arranged a time when they could study together. There was then living in Lubavitch a certain Shalom Gershon who earned his living by trading in the nearby villages. In addition, he was a butcher. Everybody recognized him as an honest and God-fearing Jew, and he was indeed a man of great virtue. For this reason, his customers were confident that they could rely on the kashrus of the meat that Shalom Gershon sold to them. Shalom Gershon was successful, which enabled him to give charity generously. Every Friday morning, he used to bring meat to the Rav, Rabbi Binyamin, and to the Maggid, Rabbi Yosef. He dispensed charity among the poor and the needy with an open hand. To some, he sent a present of meat, to others, monetary gifts. Thus passed many years until Shalom Gershon had reached an old age. Yet he carried on with his trading in the villages and kept his butcher shop as always. In the winter of 1752, he became ill and died within a few weeks. All Lubavitch grieved at his passing and attended his funeral. After the funeral, the townspeople of Lubavitch were astonished to learn that the butcher, Shalom Gershon, had left a large fortune behind. Rabbi Binyamin, the Rav of Lubavitch, asked that a minyan pray 3 times daily in Shalom Gershon's house until the end of the 30-day mourning period. During the first 7 days of mourning, Rabbi Binyamin disclosed that the butcher had left a box containing money together with a will. The time had now come to open the box of money and look into the contents of the will. Shalom Gershon had no heirs. All the years that the people of Lubavitch knew him, he had been alone. The only person who had been particularly friendly with him was the scribe Rabbi Zavulun, who had been a neighbor of his. Everybody was naturally eager to know for whom Shalom Gershon had left his money. So the Rav called together the heads of the community and read out the will in their presence. The will stated, A, that there should be 3 executors. 2 of them should be Rabbi Binyamin, the Rav of the community, and Rabbi Yosef, the Maggid, and they should both appoint a 3rd executor. The 3 executors were to decide to what purpose the money should be put and how it should be spent. B, that on the spot where Shalom Gershon's house and garden were situated, there should be erected a Beis HaMedrash for the society of the Poelei Tzedek. C, that a learned man should be appointed as teacher to teach the workers Medrash, Mishnayos, and similar subjects at the Beis HaMedrash, with his salary for 3 years to be paid out of the funds of the estate. The 3rd person chosen by Rabbi Binyamin and Rabbi Yosef as executor was Zvulun the scribe. The 3 soon set out about carrying out the instructions of the butcher's will. Now that everybody knew what a righteous man Shalom Gershon had been, it was not difficult to find people willing to come to the minyan. Many of the most important people in the town, among them Rabbi Binyamin and Rabbi Yosef, came along to pray in the house of the deceased, knowing that when the will would be executed, there would be a Beis Medrash in the place of Shalom Gershon's house. It was easy for the worshippers to feel that the house was in fact a house of prayer. Not only were services held there 3 times daily, but the congregation stayed to study Talmud with great zeal. Pious Jews came there before dawn and studied or recited Tehillim until it was time for the morning service. Between the afternoon and evening services, study continued. After the evening service, others found their way there for the purpose of study, so that Shalom Gershon's house became a veritable holy place. Before the 30 days had yet passed, a committee was formed to see to the building of the Beis HaMedrash according to the terms of the will. During the summer months, the old house was razed to the ground, and a new and beautiful Beis HaMedrash began to spring up in its place. By the time the month of Elul had come around, the Beis HaMedrash was complete, and its dedication was celebrated with great joy. A teacher was appointed to instruct the worshippers in Mishnayos and Medrash. The Maggid, Rabbi Yosef, who had always shown so much love for ordinary working men, now made it his practice to come and pray in the new Beis HaMedrash. Actually, he divided his attendances equally between the old Beis HaMedrash and the new one. But Zavulun the scribe, who was a member of the Poelei Tzedek, came regularly to the new Beis HaMedrash. Here, in a small room, Rabbi Yosef and Zavulun used to meet from time to time and study, just the 2 of them together. For 2 years they studied together in this way. It is easy to assume that their study was connected with Kabbalah and chasidism.